大家早上好，欢迎大家再回到来我们的这个 fundamental class。可以听到我的声音吗？大家？OK， 我现在 share 我的 screen。Now we are going to continue from where we stopped just now。等一下啊。OK， 我有一点问题 share 不到我的 screen， 你们等一下。OK。
老师，你再试一下。
谢谢。
嗯。
OK， 可以了，谢谢你。OK， 请问可以看到我的 screen 吗？ Can you all see my screen？ Just now we talked about repetition. Okay, so why is it we need to have the repetition? And so as you can see, it really helps to simplify our program when we apply repetition. Okay, different types of repetitions, the way that we can perform repetitions. For example, we can make use of a while loop, a do while loop, and also a for loop. So you have seen the for loop just now. Okay, in the morning. Let us continue. Okay, to look at the while loop. Okay, the while loop. How to make use of this while looping structure? Yeah, the while loop. Now, if you can see here. Okay, hold on. Okay, so here we have a while loop. So with the while condition here that we need to check. Okay, if the condition is true, then you can do the statements inside the block. Okay, remember what I mentioned to you all about the curly brace, which will put all the statements inside the curly brace in a block. Okay, so if the condition is true, then you'll execute the program statements inside the block. Now, how do we represent this type of while loop in a flow chart? So in the flow chart, you can see here, for this type of while loop, first we must check the condition. So depending on whether the condition is true or false. Okay, so if the condition is true, then we will perform the statements inside the block. If the condition is false, we'll exit from the while loop. That means we won't do the statement inside the block. We'll come out from the while loop. So to represent this in the flow chart, you can see over on the right hand side here, we have this we check for the expression here. If the condition is true, then we will perform the statements and then we'll repeat to check the condition. So if the condition is true, then we will perform the statements. As you can see, this will continue to repeat itself until where the condition here is false, and then the while loop will terminate and you'll come out. Okay, you'll perform the rest of the program. So you can see here, for this type of while loop, we have to first check the condition. All right, depending on the condition, is it true or is it false? So this is an example. Okay, so you can see the while loop here. You check for the condition for I less than equal to 10. So after you have checked the condition, then if the condition is true, then only you can go into the while body to perform these two statements. Now I can see we have to ensure, like I mentioned to you all, you have to ensure that your loop is not an infinite loop. That means there must be a point of time where this while loop here will terminate. How do you ensure that the while loop can terminate? Okay, how can I ensure that this while loop here can terminate and not keep on going on and on and on and on forever? That becomes infinite loop. That is where we have this I plus plus here at this statement. So where we increase I by 1. Now, this is important. This is to ensure that our while loop can terminate. Because every time you loop, you go inside the body of the while loop, you will increment the value of the variable I by 1. So let's say you start with I equal to 1, right? So every time you loop, you increment I by 1. So there must be a point of time where this condition here false, because eventually if you keep on every time you keep on increase the value of I by 1, the next time you increase by 1 again, then the next time you increase by 1 again, there'll be one time where the value of the variable I will be greater than 10, and that is the condition where this while loop will terminate. Okay, so the output for this program here, it will be 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Okay, because the first time you loop, I is 1, so you display 1. The second time you loop, I will have the value 2, right? So then C out will display 2 and so on. Now, how about a do while loop? The difference between this while loop and the do while loop is that the do while loop will allow you to straight away execute the statements. After you have executed the statements, then only you check for the condition. So that's the difference between a do while loop and the while loop. You see, for a while loop, you check for the condition first. But for a do while loop, it ensures that definitely you can go and execute the statement inside the body of the do while loop at least one time. Okay, so you can see here at least one time. Okay, definitely you can execute the statement here at least one time. Then only after you execute the statement, then only you check for the condition. So if the condition here is false, then only you terminate from the do while loop. And this is the program flowchart. Okay, so you can see straight away you go into the statement to execute the statement. Then only you check the condition. If the condition is false, you then proceed to the rest of the program. Okay, but if the condition is true, then you repeat the do while loop. Okay, so this is an example of a do while loop. You can see here, first we initialize the variable I with the value 1, and then we display print numbers from 1 to 10. Here we have a do while loop. So in this do while loop, you can see that we will first execute the statement, that is to display the content of the variable I. Then after that, we'll increment the value in the variable I by 1. After that only, we will check for the condition, is I less than equal to 10. If the condition is true, we will continue with the do while loop. So we'll repeat to do the thing one more time. Okay, then we'll check for the condition. If the condition is true, then we'll repeat to do the statements inside the do while loop until the condition here is false. Okay. Okay, so then we have the for looping structure, which you have seen just now. So for a for loop, you can see here inside the parentheses, there are 3 parts. The first part is the initialization. The second part is the condition, and the third part is the update. So this will be the statements inside the body of the for loop. Okay, we put them inside the parentheses because if you have more than one statements, you must make sure that you place them inside the parentheses block. So as for the flow chart, you can see for the flow chart, so this is where we perform the initialization. Okay, your initialization. Then we'll check for the condition. So the condition we check. If the condition is true, we perform the body of the for loop. Yeah, we perform the statements inside the body of the for loop, and then we do the update. So that is your update. After you perform the update, you go back and check for the condition again. So after you do the update, you go back and check for the condition. So if the condition is true, you will perform the statements inside the body of the while loop, of the for loop, and then perform the update and check the condition. So you can see this will keep on repeating until the condition here become false and the for loop will terminate. So when the for loop terminates, you will continue and proceed on with the remaining of your program. So for example, we would like to print the numbers from 1 to 10 using a for loop. How can we do that? Okay, so you can see here we have a for loop here. So this is the initialization part. The first part is the initialization, where we initialize the variable I to have the value 1. Condition that we need to check. The condition is the value in the variable I must be less than or equal to 10. So if the value inside the variable I meet this condition here, that means the condition here is true, we'll go into the body of the for loop and execute the statements inside the body of the for loop. So after executing the statement inside the body of the for loop, we will perform the update. So in this case here, we'll increment the value of the variable I by 1. And then after performing the update, we'll check for the condition again to see whether the value inside the variable I is it still less than equal to 10. So this for loop here will continue to repeat itself until the condition I less than equal to 10 is false, and the for loop will terminate. Now, so just now I mentioned it's important that you must make sure that your loop is not an infinite loop. So at one point of time, your loop will terminate. So in order to ensure that we can apply the following 3 types of control in the loop. That is a counter control loop, sentinel control loop, and also a flag control loop. Okay, so let us take a look at these 3 types. Okay, so in this case here, it is a counter control loop. So for a counter control loop, you can see that I will act as the counter. So the condition that we are checking is that the value in the variable I must meet the condition in which, so you can see here, this is a counter control loop. So every time we go into the body of the while loop, you can see here we will increment the value of the variable I by 1. So this will ensure that at one time, when the value in the variable I is not less than or equal to 10, then the while loop will be able to terminate. The next one we look at sentinel control loop. So for a sentinel control loop, we make use of a special value, such as, for example, 999 minus 1 minus 999. This type of special value, they are known as sentinel values. So when the loop encounters these sentinel values, then the loop will terminate. I mean, the number of times that the loop will perform. We do not know how many times it will loop. So the loop will just continue to loop until it encounter one of these until it encounter the sentinel value. Okay. For example, if you are making use of minus 999 as the sentinel value, then the loop will continue to repeat itself until it encounter the sentinel value, which is minus 999. For example, in this program here, okay, so the while loop here will check the value for the variable num is it equal to minus 999. So as long as the value inside the variable num is not equal to minus 999, this expression here will have the value true, and the body of the while loop, the state. So this while loop will repeat until the variable num has the value minus 999. Okay, so when the variable num has the value minus 999, this while loop here will terminate, and the user will see the output total of all the numbers are how many. Okay, the value from the variable total. So for example, so the user, the program will output the following. So the user, we ask the user to enter a positive number. So the user enter a 1. Next one, next time it loop, it repeat. You ask the user to enter a positive number again, and let's say the user enter 2. So because the 2 is not the sentinel value minus 999, then the loop will repeat again and ask the user to enter a positive 3. So you can see this process will keep on going, will continue until eventually the user enter minus 999 and the loop will terminate. So when the loop will terminate, it will give you the sum of all these numbers, which is 55. The next one is the flag control loop. So for a flag control loop, we make use of the flag, okay, a flag variable, a variable that is a Boolean variable, okay, to indicate whether the loop should continue or should terminate. So this loop, the loop will continue to loop until the flag value is flipped. That means from true or false, or from false to true, okay, or vice versa. So if you look at this example here, now we make the Boolean variable positive is true. So while positive, okay, while it's true, then this loop here, this while loop will continue to repeat itself. Repeat until the variable positive has the value false. That means in your programmer, you must ensure there must be a point in time. There must be a point of time where you will be able to set the variable positive to become false. Such as in this case here, you can see we set the variable positive to have the value false when num is less than 0. So when your num is less than 0, we set the variable positive to have the value false, and therefore the while loop will terminate. This while loop will terminate because the condition here will be false. Okay, so this is a flag. So here we look at the Java version of the flag control loop. Yeah. So you can see here, it will continue to go on until the user enter a negative number. So when the user enters a negative number, so this condition here will be true, and the variable positive will be set to the value false. So by doing that, it will terminate the while loop. Now, this morning I also mentioned about the importance of the break and the continue statement. Yeah. So when you look at the break and continue statement, the use of the break statement is for you to exit from the loop. Okay, exit from the loop immediately. So once you encounter the break statement, it will immediately exit from the loop. Okay, but for the continue statement, when it encounters the continue statement, it will stop executing the remaining statements in the loop body. Okay, in the loop body, then you will go back and check the condition again. Okay, to see whether the loop will continue or will terminate. So that's the difference between a break and a continue statement. Okay, we can see the example to have a clearer picture. Now you can see from here, we have a break statement here. If your value for the variable I, if the value for variable I is equal to 5, then we will execute the break statement. Remember what I mentioned to you just now? When the moment you execute the break statement, it will terminate the for loop. So what do you guess the result will be? So you can see the for loop here will over here will display the content of the variable I. That is why the output here will show you what is the value for the variable I. 1, 2, 3, 4. But then no more already. Stop already. It stops at 4. Why is it so? That's because, as you can see here, when your variable I has the value 5, we execute the break statement. So when you execute the break statement, it will not proceed to the next statement already, but instead it will terminate the for loop and exit the for loop. Okay, you'll come out, exit the for loop. So once it exit from the for loop, that's it. So what you have done here is only 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So the cout will only display 1, 2, 3, 4 for you. Let's look at the program. Okay, let me show to you the program example. Okay, so in this example here, we have a break statement. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a breakpoint here so you can see the flow of the execution for the program. Yeah. So now let me clear away my screen first. Okay, and start to debug it. Okay, so I will add the expression I equal to 5, okay, into the watch window here. Okay, so now we are watching the content of the variable I and also the condition I equal to 5. All right. So the first thing, as you know, we will initialize the variable I to have the value 1, and then you'll check for the condition I less than equal to 10. I'll also add this to the watch. Okay. So you can see, as you can see, I has the value 1. So the condition I less than equal to 10 is true. And therefore, it will go into the body of the is I equal to 5. So is I equal to 5? No, it's not. So if it's not, it will omit, it will skip line number 10 and will go to line number 11. Okay, so you can see that it will go to line number 11. So in line number 11, it will display the output. Okay, the result will show what is the content of the variable I. So in your terminal window, you can see the value 1. Okay, you'll be able to see 1. Now, so now it goes back to the for loop here and it performs the updating. So after performing the update, you can see that I will have the value 2. So in line number 9, you'll check the condition is 2 equal to 5. So the condition I 2 is not equal to 5. So this once again is going to skip line number 10 and bring us to line number 11. Okay, so when we execute line number 11, you display the output in our terminal. You can see that the result is 2. Okay, so then we'll go back to the for loop and we perform the update. So when we perform the update, I is equal to 3. So we check the condition is 3 less than equal to 10. The condition is true. So we'll go into the body of the for loop. Okay, so then you'll look at your execute line number 9. In line number 9, the condition I equal to 5 is false because 3 is not equal to 5. You can see that 3 is not equal to 5. So the condition is false. And therefore, once again, it will skip line number 10 and bring us straight to line number 11. So in line number 11, it will display out the content of the variable 3 here. All right. So then we'll continue All right, you can see you continue like that. Now I is 4. So once again, you skip line number 10 and display the output. So which is I equal to 4. And then you perform the update. So now I has the value 5. Now in line number 9, the condition I equal to 5 will become true. That's because the value for the variable I is now 5. Right? So in fact, 5 is equal to 5. So the condition here is true. So because the condition is true, it will now enter the body of your this if, which is line number 10. So you go to line number 10, and you will then execute the break. Okay, you will execute the break. So when you execute the break, that means you exit. You're asking, basically, you're asking to, okay, stop doing everything already inside the body of the for loop. Exit from the for loop. You see? So when you execute the break statement, you exit the for loop immediately and go to line number 14. Okay, so let me show to you. So now you can see you exit the body of the for loop and straight away go to line number 14, and that's it. So you can see the result that you get in your terminal will be just 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, then without the rest already, because you exit from the for loop and you then execute the return 0, which means that's the end of your program. Okay, so let's go back to the PowerPoint slides. Now we have seen, we're going to look at the continue statement. Yeah, the continue statement will allow the program to skip the remaining statements in the body of the loop and proceed with the next iteration of the loop. So let's see the sample program to see how it works. Yeah. Okay, so here in line number 10, okay, we have the continue statement, as you can see from here. So let me put a breakpoint here again and show to you. Okay. Press this one to go in the next statement. So you can see in here, line number 7, we'll initialize the variable I. So variable I will have the value 1. Okay, variable I will have the value 1. And the condition I less than equal to 10 is true. So it goes inside the body of the for loop, which is line number 9. In line number 9, you check whether is it I equal to 5. So I is 1. So which is not equal to 5, the condition is false. And therefore, you go to line number 11. So in line number 11, you display I. So in the terminal, you'll be able to see the result 1. So then you repeat the for loop again and perform the update. So I will now have the value 2. Okay. Then you check for the condition is 2 equal to 5. Again, sorry, you check the condition here. 2, is it 2 less than equal to 10? Go into the body of the for loop and stop at line number 9. So in line number 9, when you execute, you will check for I, is it equal to 5? You can see the condition is false. So then you'll proceed to line number 11. Yeah. So you can see this loop here will continue to loop. Okay, you will continue to loop like that until your I is equal to 5. Okay, so now you can see your I is 5. So when your I has the value 5, this condition here, I equal to 5, will become true. So when it is true, you will execute line number 10. Okay, you'll go to line number 10. So when you execute line number 10, it will ignore the remaining of the statements already in the body of the for loop. Straight away, you go back to the for loop to perform the update. You see? So you just ignore everything else in the for loop. Go back to the update for I. So now when it performs the update for I will have the value 6. Okay, so since 6 is less than 10, the condition is true. It will go into the body of the for loop and execute them. So that's why now it's in line number 9. So is 6 equal to 5? So 6 is not equal to 5. The condition is false, and therefore you skip line number 10. So you will go to line 11 and display the output. So you can see you will continue. Okay, you continue to do this. All right, you continue to do this until I is greater than 10. Okay, until I is greater than 10. Okay, and the for loop will terminate. So when the for loop terminates, 14. And therefore you can see as it goes just now, as it loop, right, it displays for you the result except for number 5. So 5 is not displayed. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, then 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so let's continue to the next slide. Now, so just now it says you can do interesting things with nested control structure. Okay, with a nested control structures. For example, here we make use of a nested for loop, and we are able to draw this diagram. Okay, now you can see here. Basically, you know that there's 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines, 4 lines, and 5 lines. So you know that in the outer for loop, you have to repeat 5 times. First time in the outer for loop, the first time it loop, for the first time, okay, the first line it print 1 star. The second time it loop, it will print 2 star. The third time it loop, it will print 3 star. The fourth time it loop, you print 4 star, and the fifth time it loop, you print 5 star, and then you terminate from this for loop. Therefore, you can see the number of star that is going to print for each line will depend on the inner for loop here. Okay, it depends on the inner for loop. So the outer for loop will determine how many lines are there that you are going to print. So you can see here, we are going to print 5 lines, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. So therefore, the outer for loop here will loop for 5 times. Okay, starting from the integer I equal to 1, I is less than or equal to 5, it will go into the body of the for loop and execute the statement inside. Okay, and then after that, it will update the value I by 1. So this for loop will look for 5 times. Therefore, you have 5 lines. But if you observe carefully, the first line has 1 star. The second line has 2 stars. The third line has 3 stars. You see and so on. The fourth line we have 4 stars, and the fifth line we have 5 stars. It means that you see inside the body of the outer for loop, we are going to print the stars. So we can use a for loop here to print the stars, okay, in each line. So how many stars we are going to print in each of the line depends on how many times this inner for loop we're going to loop. So if the inner for loop for 1 time, then we'll print. But if the inner for loop 2 times, we will print 2 stars. But if the inner for loop for 3 times, then we'll print out 3 stars. If the inner for loop for 4 times, then we'll print out 4 stars. And if the inner for loop for 5 times, then we'll print out 5 stars. So how is it that we can determine how many times this inner for loop is going to loop? That depends on the outer for loop. You see, when the value for the variable I is 1, your inner for loop will be, for j will be from 1. The condition is j must be less than or equal to 1. Meaning that this for loop will loop 1 time. So that's why it's only 1 star. But for the second time you loop, I will have the value 2. Okay, I will have the value 2. So here, the inner will be less than equal to 2, meaning that this inner for loop will loop for 2 times, and that's why you get 2 star. Okay, let me show to you in the program. Okay, so you can see here we have the inner for loop and we have the outer for loop and we have the inner for loop. Let me put these 2 breakpoint here. Okay, then let me debug it. Also observe the terminal. You can see, observe the terminal and see the output in the terminal. All right. Okay, sorry, just now I accidentally pressed the button. Let me start again the debug. Okay, I would like to add this to the watch. And also I would like to add the variable j to the watch as well. And also I would like to add this j less than equal to 1 into the watch. Okay, so let us observe what happens. So you can see here I is 1. Okay, your I is 1. So the condition I is less than equal to 5 is true. And then you'll go to line number 9. So in line number 9, we'll check you see that j will be initialized to have the value 1. Okay, your j will be initialized to have the value 1. And the condition j less than equal to 1 is true. J less than equal to I is true because j is 1. Okay, your I is also 1. So this condition is true, and therefore you go to line number 10 to display 1 star. Okay, now you can see in your terminal, you get 1 star. So now when you come to here, okay, you increment j. So j, when you increment j, j will become 2, right? J become 2. So in that case, the condition here will be false, and therefore this for loop will terminate. So when you terminate, you go to here, see out to display a new line. So here, when you do a new line, your cursor will go to the next line here. You will go to the next line. Now you go back to the outer for loop, and it will then increment the value for the variable I. So now your variable I has the value 2. Okay, 2 is less than equal to 5, so the condition is true. So this condition is true, and you'll go to line number 9. So in line number 9, we initialize j to have the value 1. So you can see here j has the value 1, and the condition j less than equal to I is true. That's because 1 is less than equal to 2. So the condition is true, and therefore we will display a star. Okay, we will display a star. So therefore you can see a star here. Then you go back to the inner for loop, do the update for j. So j has the value 2. So the condition 2 is still less than equal to 2. All right, so 2 is equal to 2, right? So the condition here is true, and therefore you display a star. So now you see 2 star already. Okay, so now you update j, so j will become 3. Okay, so when your j is 3, this condition will be false, and therefore the for loop will terminate, and you proceed to line number 11. So when you proceed to line number 11, you display a n line. That means the cursor will go to the next line. So you can see your cursor is here, so you go to the next line, and then you go back to the In the outer for loop, we will increment the variable I by 1. So I will become 3. And 3 is less than equal to 5. So the condition is true. So you go into the body of the for loop and go to line number 9. So once again, now here we are in the inner for loop. So the inner for loop will again will repeat itself. All right. So you can see this time the inner for loop will repeat 3 times. Right? Because it repeats 3 times, you can see that you'll get 3 stars. You can see that. Okay. The third time you repeat, and therefore you get 3 stars. And then you go back to the outer for loop again. So if you keep on continue running this program, you can see that the output of the result will be, okay, 1 star, 2, 3 star, 4 star, and then 5 stars. This is what you will get. Okay. So that's how you can make use of this nested control structure to create this pattern. The next one, if you want to terbalikkan, you want to turn the pattern upside down. Okay, so now you can see the first line is 5 stars. Then the second line you have 4 stars. Then after that, the third line you have 3 stars. The fourth line you have 2 stars, and the last line you have 1 star. Okay, what you need to do is to replace the first for loop with the following. You initialize the variable I to have the value 5. You check whether I is it still greater than or equal to 1. If yes, you are able to perform the body of the for loop. And you see that every time you will decrease the value of the variable I by 1. You will decrease the value of the variable I by 1. So now we can see here we have made changes to the outer for loop. So we start with 5 and we check that the value for the variable I is greater than equal to 1. Every time we loop, we will decrement the value for I. So here in the inner for loop is still the same, but remember, you see, we start with I equal to 5. That means this condition here will allow this inner for loop to loop for 5 times. Because of that, you'll get 5 stars in the first line. Then in the second line, you can see that I will have the value 4. So when I is 4, the inner for loop here will have, is it an equal to 4? It means that this inner for loop will look for 4 times. And therefore, it will display for you 4 stars. Okay, so that is the reason why when you run this program here, it will show to you 5 stars and then 4 stars and then 3 stars, 2 stars, and then followed by 1 star. Okay, so in this manner, so it will display for you 5 stars, the next line will be 4 stars, and the next line will be 3 stars, the next line will be 2 stars, and finally 1 star. Okay, you look at this program carefully, compare with the previous one. Previous one, we start with 1. Yeah. So every time we increment by 1 and we check that the value for I is less than 5. But for the next example is we start with 5. We check that the value is greater than equal to 1. And every time we decrement the value for the variable I. So that will give us the opposite. Yeah. So that is for this program here. So you must know how to choose, okay, the right looping structure. So if you know or can determine in advance the number of repetitions you need, you can use a for loop. Remember, because the for loop, you can predetermine how many times you need to loop. But if you do not know and cannot determine in advance the number of repetitions you need, and it could be 0 repetition, you can use a while loop. Because if you use the while loop, you check the condition first. So if the condition is false, straight away you terminate the while loop. That means the repetition can be 0 time. If you do not know and cannot determine at once the number of repetitions needed, and you must ensure that you execute the body of the loop at least one time, then you should use a do while loop. Okay, so here these three statements here help you to choose the right looping structure. So that is all for the morning session, the first session, the morning session, the first session. Then after this, we will proceed to the second session, yeah, in which we'll look at some of the program examples. So you can also make use of this Google Python tutor, where you can use it to see the execution of the program, like what I've shown to you just now. Okay, so any questions before we proceed to go into the examples, to look at the example? You all can turn on your mic or can put in the chat, so I can discuss further with you all. Okay, so if no questions, okay, then we will proceed to the examples for the second session. So for the second session, we look at some sample programs. So the sample one, okay, you prompt the user, yeah, you ask to prompt the user to enter a score of a subject in integer and check if he or she passed the exam. The score must be between 60 to 100. That is inclusive of both 60 and 100 lah. That means from 60 to 100. Okay, the student passed the exam. If less than 60, fail. All right, it cannot be greater than 100, because if it's greater than 100, then it is an invalid input. So you can see, if let's say the user enters 65, the user will see the word you pass. If the user enter 56, the user will see you fail. If the user enter 103, then the user will see invalid input. Okay, so how to achieve this? So this is the program. Okay, so this is the program. Now we can see that we'll check for the marks greater than equal to 60 and the marks is less than equal to 100. So if both the expression, if the expression 1 is true and the expression 2 is true, okay, then we'll display you pass. That means if the marks is greater than or equal to 60 and the marks is less than or equal to 100, the user will see the word you pass. Otherwise, so this means the else here, else if your marks is less than 0, okay, or the marks is greater than 100. You see, the marks cannot be less than 0, yeah, the marks also cannot be greater than 100. So if either one of these condition here is true, that means if the marks is less than 0 is true, valid input. So otherwise, that means you will do the else. Else means you fail. Okay, else means you display you fail. So obvious, right? If you do not pass and your input is not an invalid input, then you must fail. Okay, then definitely it is you fail the subject. Okay, what is this system pause? System pause, the effect is that, okay, let me show to you the effect of this system pause effect. Okay, now it's a session 2 examples. So I will open the session 2 examples to show to you all. Okay, so in this session 2 example, so when you run it, so you can see it says please key in the marks. So if you key in the marks as 60, so it says you pass. So then you can see press any key to continue. So this press any key to continue is because of this system pause. All right. So when you, because of this system pause statement, it will display for you press any key to continue. So you can press any key and then the program will terminate. Yeah. So when you press any key, you execute line number 19, return 0, and then line 20, and that's it. So your program terminates. Okay. So this is for the program, the first example. So for the second example, asked to generate the following output using the nested for loop. So now, just now you have seen, right? Asterisk, now this is ampersand, ampersand, yeah? Okay, so the first one is straightforward. So I know, I'm sure you're able to guess. Okay, I just changed the asterisk to ampersand. Okay, yeah. How about the number 2? The second one, you can see the first, this is a terbalik one, right? The opposite one. But the first one is there's a number here. You can see the numbering, the sequence here. Yeah? Start with 12, then 24, 36, 48, 60, and 72. The second line you can see is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. The third line you can see is 8, 16, 24, 32. The fourth line you can see is 6, 12, 18. Fifth line is 4, 8. Sixth line is 2. How do we get this? Why is it that for each line is able to print out this type of sequence? And can you see how to get the sequence? Say for example in the first line, okay, we start with 12. Then we multiply 2, we get 24. All right. So then it is so then every time we plus 12, right? So then we plus 12 again, we get 26. Then we plus 12, we get 48. We plus 12, we get 60. We plus 12, we get 72. All right. So that means we start with 12. You multiply 2, you get 24. You multiply 3, you get 36. You multiply 4, you get 48. You multiply 5, you get 60. Multiply 6, you get 72. The second line, you can see it start with 10. So 10 times 2, 20. 10 times 3 is 30. 10 times 4 is 10 times 5 is 50. You can observe the sequence, yeah, the sequence like that. So you are able to guess how to write the program. So this for the first part of the program is straightforward. We just change the asterisk like in the program example shown to you just now. We change it to ampersand. Yeah, just change it to ampersand. But for the second part, why is it okay? So the first line we start with 12. How to start with 12? You can see the outer for loop. The outer for loop will have the value I equal to 6. Okay, so when we go to the inner for loop, okay, so your j will initialize to be 1, but your I I is 6. So you can see here, I multiply 2. Okay, I multiply 2 is 12. Then we multiply j. What is j? J is 1. Means is I multiply 2 multiply 1. Okay, I multiply with 1 multiply with 2, which is I multiply 2. The second time you look, j will becomes 2. So it is I multiply 2 multiply 2, which is I multiply 4. Yeah. The next time j will becomes 3. So it will be I multiply 3 multiply 2. Okay. So the next time it will be I multiply 4 multiply 2. And the next time it will be I multiply 5 multiply 2. Yeah. So by doing that, you can see that the first line, for the first line, you get 12, 24, 36, and so on until 72. Okay. So for the, how about the second line? Okay, for the second line, your outer for loop here, the I will have the value 5 because you perform a decrement. So I will have the value 5. Okay, so in the inner for loop here, your j will be from 1, okay, and j is supposed to be less than equal to 5. So now you can see here, we are going to output I, just now I mentioned I is 5, right? So 5 multiply j multiply 2. So what is j? The first time you look, j is 1, right? So it's 5 multiply 1 multiply 2. The second time you look, it is 5 multiply 2 multiply 2. The third time you look, it is 5 multiply 3 multiply 2. Therefore, this inner for loop here will produce for you 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. You see, 5 multiply 2 is 10. Okay, so multiply 1 is 10. So 5 multiply 2 will be 20. 5 multiply 3 multiply 2 is 30. 5 multiply 4 multiply 2 will be 40. Okay, and 5 multiply 5 multiply 2 will be 50. Okay, so by doing that, you are able to get this type of figure, this result. Okay, so this type of loop. The next example, okay, example 3. So for example 3, we will you are asked to write a C++ program to control a vending machine that sells. So user is required to select his or her drink from the list that is being displayed at the screen of the vending machine. Okay, so in addition, user has to determine the quantity of the selected drink. Moreover, if the user has entered an invalid input, the user is allowed to re-enter the selection if he or she wishes to continue. The total price and total quantity of the selected drinks are displayed when the user has decided to perform the payment. So this will be the sample output. You can see here, it shows you this menu, right? It shows you, first of all, it shows you the menu. So A is a 1 Coca-Cola, 2 ringgit. B is 1 Sprite, 210. C is 1 root beer, 190, and N will be crit. So then you display, choose your favorite drink. If the user entered D is not inside here, it will display invalid input. But if the user enter A, so A is one of the choices, then you proceed to ask the user to enter the quantity. So let's say the user enter the quantity to be 2. Okay, the user enter the quantity as 2. Then you'll display 2 Coca-Cola because A is a Coca-Cola. So you'll display 2 Coca-Cola, and the price for the 2 Coca-Cola is 4 ringgit. Because 1 Coca-Cola is 2 ringgit. So the user purchased the quantity 2. So for 2 Coca-Cola, the price is 4 ringgit. Then after that, you continue to ask the user again, choose your favorite drinks. And if the user input C means root beer, right? So then you ask the user to enter the quantity. So now the user enter the quantity 3. So 3 root beer means 3 times 190. It is 570. So it will show to you 3 root beer is 570. Then after that, you ask the user again, choose your favorite drink, and now the user enter N. N means quit. So you'll quit from the loop. Okay, quit from this loop, and you'll display thank you. Okay, so when it exit the loop, you'll show the total quantity 5. The total quantity 5 is the quantity of all the purchases. You can see here the user purchased quantity 2 for A, the user purchased quantity 3 for drink C. That means total quantity is 5. And it will also add up all the price. Okay, so you add up 4 ringgit and also add 570. Okay, so you have 4 ringgit plus 570. That will give you the total price as 970, 9 ringgit and 70 cents. So this is how the program will output to the user. Okay, let me show to you how the program works in Visual Studio Code. Okay, so this is the program. Okay, so first it says, okay, so it asks the user, okay, choose your favorite drink. If the user entered D, so it says invalid input. Then you repeat again, ask the user, choose your favorite drink. So the user says A. Then you ask the user, because this is a valid input, you ask the user for the quantity. So quantity 2. Then you display 2 Coca-Cola is 4 ringgit. Then you continue to ask the user to choose the favorite drink. So the user says C. And then because this is a valid input, you ask the user for the quantity. So the user says 3. So it says 3 root beer is 570. Then again, you ask the user to choose your favorite drink. And now let's say the user enter N. You terminate the loop, show the word thank you, and display the total quantity as 5 because 3 plus 2 is 5. Display the total price as 970 because 4 ringgit plus 570, that is 970. And then that's the end of the program. Okay, so let's look at how we look at the program itself. Let's take a look at the program itself. Okay, let me just make the wording bigger. Let me change the font size to make it bigger a bit. Okay, I'll set the font size to 18 points. 18. All right. Yeah, okay, better. Okay, so now you can see here we declare the variable choice to be a char. So continue equal to 1. The variable continue is an integer. Then we have quantity, integer, total quantity also integer. Then for double, we have the variable price and total price. So the first thing is we display out the message soda vending machine, and then we display out the menu. Why is it displayed in a separate line? Because of this \n. So because of the \n, it means display in the next line. Yeah. So that's why in the menu you can see the menu is displayed in different lines. Now here, remember in line number 11, we have a fixed set precision 2. That means we will display the result in 2 decimal places. So here we have the do loop. So remember just now, you keep on continue to loop but we want it to perform at least one time. Yeah, the body of the loop will run at least one time, and therefore we make use of the do while loop. We make use of the do while loop so that the body of the loop, so everything inside here, starting from line number 15. Okay, so in the body of the do while loop, so when will this do while loop terminates? The do while loop terminates when the user enter the choice n. You see? So when the user enters the choice n, so you can see in the while here, the condition, if the choice is not equal to n, and the choice not equal to small n, that means either the user enter capital N or small n, that means the loop will terminate. So as long as the user did not enter capital N or small letter n, this while loop will continue to loop. Okay. So where do we get the choice from user? Now you can see when you go into the loop here, when you go into the do while loop, you'll display choose your favorite drink. And then this is where we get the choice from the user. So here we have the C in here. So remember, if the user entered choice, so your variable choice, the data type is a char type. Okay. Then you'll have to decide what is inside the variable choice. Is it capital A or small a, or is it capital B or small b, or is it capital C or small c? That means if the condition here is true, it means that it is a valid choice. So remember just now, the first time we entered character D. So character D will cause the condition, the expression here to be false. Will cause the condition here to be false. So it is a invalid. If the condition here is false, then it is a invalid choice. Okay. So if the choice here is a valid choice, remember that you display the user to enter the quantity. So when the user enter the quantity, it will be assigned to the variable quantity. So your variable quantity is declared to be an integer type. Okay, integer type for quantity. Okay, then we can calculate the total quantity, because remember, if you exit from the do while loop, we will print out what is the total quantity. So therefore, we must keep the quantity inside the variable total quantity. So it is total quantity plus quantity. We have to add the quantity into the variable total quantity. Yeah. So if your choice, is the valid choice, that means so we will use the switch statement to determine the choice. Is it A? Okay. So if it is not any one of these, then it is an invalid choice, right? That's why you can see here the message, it will display the message invalid input. But otherwise, if your choice is A, then you will calculate the total price to be total price plus the quantity multiplied with 2. Okay, because we need to keep the total price of the purchase, so that when the loop terminate, we can also display what is the total price. Yeah, so that is why we need to keep the total price. But the price for this quantity of Coca-Cola purchase, we will calculate as the quantity multiplied 2. So this is the price for this particular item. If your choice is B, then you will also calculate the price for that item, that is quantity multiplied. But if your choice is C, it will calculate the price for the choice C as quantity multiplied 1.90. But of course, for all the choices that we make, we will still keep the total price. Yeah, we will keep the total price. Right? We'll keep it into the total price. I mean, we will add it to the total price. Okay, so you can see we'll add the purchase price to the total price. But if your choice is N, capital N or small n, then we display thank you. Okay, otherwise it will display invalid input. So you can see the do loop here will continue to loop until it is the character n, capital N, or the character small n. So when the do while loop terminates, we display what is the total quantity and what will be the, okay, that's all for this program. The next example, example 4. Okay, you are asked to write a C++ menu-driven program which allow the user to select the choice of books from the list shown here. User will be allowed to re-enter the choice if their input is not valid. So you can see here the user will put the input. Okay, we display the list of books, and then it will display pick a choice from the list. The user enter 2, then you display do you want to continue shopping. If you say yes, then you display to you pick a choice from the list again, and the user will set. Let's say the user enter 3, then you ask you whether do you want to continue shopping. So this loop here, it will continue doing like that until the character n, you display the amount that the user needs to pay. So the user can enter y or n. Okay, so y needs to continue shopping, or the user can enter n, that means to terminate or to quit from the shopping. So therefore, you can see the program is the program. So we display the menu. All right, we display the menu. So we have the C out here to display the menu. Okay, we use this C out here to display the menu, and then after that, you can see we have this do while loop. So the do while loop here will loop until the continue, the variable cont has the value y. So it will continue to loop as long as. So which means that when the user enter n, this do while loop here will terminate. So when the do while loop terminates, you ask the user to please pay the total price. So here inside the do while loop, we make use of the switch statement to determine what is the user choice. If the user choice is 1, then the price is this one. If the user choice is 2, then this will be the price. If the user choice is 3, this will be the price, and so on. Also, please take note that you must have the break for each of the case. This is important. As I've shown to you this morning, if you don't put in a break, what will happen? So if you enter some other choices, it's not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, then it will be the default. So the default case is it will display for you invalid choice, please try again. Okay, so we will get the value in the variable price to the total price. So in the total price will give you the total purchase price. All right, so that's how this program works. In sample 5, okay, you have table 1 and table 2 that will show the price for the food and the food delivery, the price of the food delivery. So depending on the delivery service, your delivery price will be different. For example, if you choose Grab food, then the delivery charge is 5 ringgit, fixed already 5 ringgit. But if you choose to use a Food Panda, right, then your delivery charge will be 5 ringgit. But it will be free if you spend more than 25 ringgit. If you choose the delivery service to be a deliver it, then your delivery charge will be 3 ringgit plus 10% of your spending, 10% of your spending price. Write a C++ program to allow the user to choose the food and also to choose the delivery service. So based on the table above, so the user is allowed to purchase more than one food at a time. Yeah, you can purchase more than one food. So based on the table above, these two tables here, you will calculate what will be the charges, what will be the amount, the final amount that the user will need to pay for his or her purchase. So you can see here, you display the food menu to the user. User make the choice, and then for the food item, and then the user put in the quantity of purchase for that item, and then the user will choose whether to add another food. Okay, until the user says that, okay, I have no more food, to allow the user to choose for the delivery service. So let's say the user choose to deliver it. So the delivery charge will be 3 ringgit plus 10% of the total food price. That will made up to 10 ringgit and 7 cents. So the total amount the user will need to pay will be the total food price plus the delivery charge, which is 70 ringgit 69 cents plus 10 ringgit and 7 cents. So that will give the total price as 80 ringgit and 76 cents. So therefore, you can see we have a do loop here. Again, we are using this do while loop. Okay. So inside the do while loop, we display the menu, the food menu, and then we use the next if else. Okay, we use the if else statement to check what is the food choice that the user purchased, so that we the variable price. You can see we assign the appropriate food price to the variable price. Okay, but if the choice entered by the user is not either one of these, then we'll display bad choice and ask the user to please try again. So then after that, we'll ask the user to enter the quantity of the purchase. So the user will enter the quantity. So from the price and the quantity, we are able to compute the price for that item, which is price multiplied with the quantity of the item. So that will be the price for the item. And we need to add the price of the item to the total, to the variable total, because you want to keep track of the total purchase price for all the items, okay, for all the items. And you see, eventually when the while loop, we will display the delivery service menu. So the user is able to choose the delivery service. So the type of the delivery service, we'll calculate the delivery charge. And then we'll output the final result to the user. That is the total food price and also the total delivery price charge. And the last example here, this is the last example. So you're asked to write a complete C++ program that will read the character from the user. So the program has to validate if the user has input a digit, alphabet, or symbol based on the ASCII value. Okay. User is allowed to re-enter the character if he or she wishes to continue, and the sample output is shown below. So let's say the user entered the character age, it will display 72 because 72 is the ASCII code for the character age. And it will also display that because this character age is the alphabet. If the user enters 7, it will show to the user that 7 will be 7 is the ASCII code is 55 and 7 is a digit. But if the user enter n, you display that n, the ASCII code for n is 78, n is the alphabet, and the program will terminate because the condition is that the program will terminate when the user enter the character n. And you can see here, of course, you need to refer to the ASCII code table, okay, so that you'll know how to set the condition here. As you can see here, the condition, if the value is greater than equal to 65 and the value is less than equal to 90, okay, or the value is greater than equal to 97 and the value is less than equal to 122. These are the ASCII code number and alphabet. But if the ASCII code is greater than equal to 48 and less than equal to 57, then this is a digit, okay, the ASCII code for a digit. Otherwise, it will be the ASCII code for a symbol. All right. So as you can see here, 78 and 110, this is the ASCII code for the character capital N and small n. And that will cause the while loop here to terminate. Let me show you that is all for this session. let me show you the table for the ASCII code. You can look at the ASCII code table from this URL. Yeah. So you can go to this URL here. Okay. You can actually go into this URL, and you can then look at the ASCII code. Yeah. Look at the ASCII code. So you can see here just now, you can see the ASCII code. If the decimal number, right, from let's say alphabet, you can see here alphabet. For digit, it will be from here 48. 48 is the digit until 57. These are the digit. For alphabet, you can see 65. There's a capital A until what? Until 90. There's a capital Z. Then for small a will be 97 until the small z, which is 122. Okay, so that is all for this session here. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you. So you may now return back to the main session, main menu. Thank you.